Um, Afternoon. I'm Fidian Warman. I'm founder of Makers Guild. I'm going to talk a little bit about the background, the motivations for the Guild, and what we do, what we aim to do in the future with Makers Guild. So, the central motivation behind Makers Guild is sort of melding my and my company Soda's previous experience with digital making, physical making, and social innovation, and also the fact that over the past few years, I mean, I do quite a lot of sort of robotic artworks and things, and over the past few years, it's been harder and harder to find small engineering shops to get bits made up. There used to be someone at the end of my street, and then across the other side of London, and more recently I had to go down to kind of mid-Kent to get some large bushes turned up. And then there is also this proliferation of people who come from a digital background, coders, digital creatives, who are getting a bit bored of doing stuff on a screen, being restricted by 2 dimensions, and want to get into making. And I think there's this really interesting crossover at the moment between digimakers and more traditional crafters, and the intersection of the two, and that's very much where Makers Guild operates. Another source of inspiration was the fact that about 2.5 years ago I put a tweet out and said I wanted to play with 3D printing. I put a tweet out, and within a couple of days I had 10 people each willing to put £100 in, and so we bought a MakerBot together, and then over a couple of weekends built it collaboratively, and have run events around it pretty much ever since. And some of the co-owners of it are teachers or creatives of various flavours, and have taken it around the place. So we launched Makers Guild 2 years ago, and since then we've done a series of events, one-off events like stuff for the Arts and Humanities Research Council, their Digital Transformations Moot, and also we do a series of monthly meetups, this one being the social and economic value of making, which we did at V&A. We did a run at the V&A. Another one on making and sound. We had 3 different practitioners making sound, through to our latest talk, which was called Not 3D Printing. So we looked at alternative maker technologies to 3D printing. Much as I love 3D printing, we felt it was quite overhyped, and so we wanted to do something which was rather lighter than that. Our next event is on wearable technologies on July the 17th, and we're also planning a couple of other things. So there's a hands-on kind of what we're calling a heavy making day with a design studio called Jailmake, who've got some really lovely workshops in Peckham, just off Peckham Rye. And they've got lathes and milling machines, saw benches, welding gear, and the idea is just to spend a day getting people able to use this heavy gear, a laser cutter they've got as well, use this stuff. So we're going to be announcing that in a few weeks, and we're going to do a trial day. So the first hour and a half or so, we're aiming to introduce people to the bits of machinery, show them how to use it, and then people can make their own projects with the guidance of a few of the guys there. We are also helped to initiate a makerspace a planned makerspace in and around Brixton, and we've had kind of ad hoc meetups, sometimes in the upstairs of pubs, sometimes in people's studios. So I've got a studio just down the road here. We've had meetups there where we all just get together in the evening, bring along projects that people are working on and just kind of hack away and share. And we're beginning to put some money aside so that we can get a permanent space and start to buy and share equipment. So we're a pretty new organisation and are now looking to broaden our activities. So we're doing events. We want to build our networking, knowledge bases, partner with more people, and just sort of spread what we do a little more. So thank you. And I'm sorry, I've got a kind of summer cold, which has made my throat a little sore, if I'm a bit raspy. Do you have any questions?
Can you talk a bit about the technologies that were an alternative to 3D printing?
Yeah, we had two examples actually. We had Gregory Epps from a company called RoboFold, who, if I skip back, he's got a London-based workshop and has designed software and has these two huge orange industrial robots and a CNC machine, and it does wonderful things. So it cuts and scores sheet metal, and then his written software that controls the robots, which then pick up the metal with these suckers and then fold it in very precise ways. So you can fold these rather beautiful forms, which are often used for building cladding and all that kind of thing. So if you look at robofold.com, there's some videos and things of that. And then also Jamie from Jailmake was talking, and he was talking through some more traditional manufacturing techniques that they use. So things like the milling machine and lathes and and welding gear and the woodworking machinery that they've got, and talking about other forms of manufacture, because I think it really surprises me how particularly people who've been schooled relatively recently in D&T or classes at school, they don't really have much hands-on dealings with that kind of equipment. And then people getting into making through new technologies like 3D printing or laser cutting have maybe not that background knowledge about more traditional manufacturing. And I think that's really quite important. And I think that also informs I mentioned the sort of disappearance of light engineering, and I think it's kind of interesting. We've got this upsurge of interest in making, which I think is going to carry on, but you still need traditional engineering skills. You need to understand materials, tolerances, all that kind of stuff, and it'd be kind of a shame if we lost that knowledge. So it was kind of extended answer. Anybody else? No, it's totally just like making stuff, really. Yes, yeah.
Talk a bit about your
Social innovations, yeah. Well, there's a number of things. So we've done projects for Amnesty International, for instance. We did a project a few years ago called irrepressible.info, which was Amnesty put out a brief and they wanted an agency to come up with an idea which helped to reveal how some countries were using internet censorship to repress their people, and how some multinational companies were helping them to do that. So we produced this thing called Irrepressible, and what we did was we compared search terms in a country like, for instance, China, where censorship was taking place, and the UK. So if you put in, at that time, if you put in Tiananmen Square, you get very different results in the UK than you would have done in mainland China. And so we wrote a web app that produced those searches and then put all the censored data into a database and produced systems that then publicise that censored data as much as possible. I also do a thing called Awesome Foundation, which is a micro-funding group, and we get together every 2 months. We solicit what we call awesome ideas through a very simple web application form. Find 3 to 5 of those who are interesting, meet in the upstairs of a pub. They do a quick presentation about what it is they want to do, and then we all put £100 into a paper bag and give them £1,000. There's 10 of us, they get £1,000 as a micro grant to kind of kick their project off. And quite a lot of learning stuff, other bits and pieces. Thank you.